that's exactly the kind of mindset that will actually prevent you from creating a much needed personal brand and ultimately let self-doubt hold you back, which you never want. Self-doubt is the enemy. So especially the enemy to career progression. So really believing in your value versus doubting it is so important. And that doubt is definitely a key mistake I see a lot. The fourth, I would say, is not making...
Tiffany,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Tiffany, let's sit on this value thing for just a
Yeah,
minute before
sure.
let's sit on it for a while. So, yes, it's knowing your value. Some people don't even know. That's the first problem. But
Yeah,
then it's how do you how do you kind of find what, let's assume you do know your value. How do you stop those? Because those doubts come, especially for
oh yeah,
women. Those doubts come, you're either self-sabotaging because you're doubting yourself, or the imposter syndrome kicks in. Oh God, I'm going to be found out any moment now. And then
yeah,
you get offered roles, you say, actually, I don't think I can do that. For some reason, you reject things that you should normally accept, So how did you, when you started off, um, kind of get seated and comfortable in the value that you bring to the table such that you're able to
yeah.
cast those doubts away?
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that too, Ola, because that's actually the beginning piece of my coaching framework. It's all about helping my clients get past that self-doubt,
Mm-hmm.
the limiting beliefs, the negative self-talk, because it is really, like I said, our worst enemy. It will stand in our way of getting us to our next steps. And our mind can be our biggest asset or it could be our worst enemy or liability, and I never want it to be the latter.
Mm-hmm.
So to your point about what you can concretely do, I think the most important thing is just that self-trust, especially when you're in the company. You got hired, they saw the value in you. So why are you going to let yourself doubt and hold back that value that you could bring forward once you actually are in the role, right? And that's the thing you want to avoid, obviously, because they're counting on you to bring out that level of value. And so if you are getting too up in your head and questioning, am I cut out for this? Can I do this? I don't know if I can. It will really get the best of you. So I would say really trusting in yourself. I know that might sound obvious, but it's a lot easier said than done. But just reminding yourself and trying to have active positive mantras that you can fuel your mind with when those negative thoughts come. Just a concrete thing that I love doing, Ola, and I do that to this day, is I get a lot of feedback from my teams. I love feedback. I'm such an advocate for feedback, which is also very important for career progression. And every feedback I get, I print out and I keep a place that's visible for me. And so whenever I get these moments of self-doubt or questioning or feeling down in general, I just look at it and it brings me right back. Like, I can do this. And it might sound a little cheesy, but honestly, sometimes just having that manifestation mindset, right? Putting something out there, seeing it helps you believe it, and then it helps you action it as a result. So that's just a fun little tip that I love to do, that if it can benefit your audience, of having those positive mantras, having that positive feedback, maybe just self mantras that they create that you can put in front of you every day and remind yourself that you are capable, will help you push back some of that negative self-talk that creeps in. And then at the same time, if you really feel that it's also coming from a place of questioning if you're doing your role well, like maybe you're not sure, maybe you feel a little bit lost, maybe you feel overwhelmed, ask for feedback. Get the feedback. And I know sometimes that can be scary because you're not sure what you're going to receive on the other end. But let me ask you this, isn't it scarier to not ask it and then still have those people think that, and you just don't even know about it and you don't action it as a result? That's really the mindset I want you guys to have, is ask for the feedback and then use that information to your advantage. You might be very surprised, pleasantly surprised by the feedback that's reinforcing that you're doing good, or that you have a few things that you can work on more, but overall these things are going well, right? It at least gives you a foundation to work from to manage that self-doubt, as opposed to just letting your mind run wild and dig a grave that is very hard to get out of otherwise. So I would say those are two really concrete things that you can do. Again, those positive mantras, keeping them in a visible space that you can see, and really feel every day. And then also leveraging the power of feedback to validate and maybe counter some of that negative self-talk or self-doubt that you're experiencing.
Thank you. I just want to stress on one thing you said, which I think is really important and it's really helpful. It's you got the role. You applied for the role. People saw that you were adding value, and they gave it to you. So now people are now depending on you to prove that value that you bring to the role, to do the job that you've been hired to do. People are actually depending on you to do it. So
Yeah,
I think that's really it's subliminal, but it's really important that you kind of have that in your mind that come on, girl, you got this. It's yours.
yeah, exactly.
You can
And
do this.
I'll add to that, Ola, like, to this point about doubting your value, sometimes, again, it stems from the fact that you're surrounded by people that are more experienced than you. But that's just the name of the game in corporate. There's always going to be people more experienced than you. And actually, one thing that my previous CEO said at one time in a meeting when I was fairly junior in my career just stood with me. Like, I will forever remember this. And he said that he purposely surrounds himself and hires people within the company that are smarter than him, that know more than him, that are more experienced than him, because he recognized that he doesn't know everything. There's things that he's very good at, but then there's things that he really needs that support. And by having these people surround him that are more experienced, he actually uses that to his advantage so that he can become more well-rounded, learn from them, and grow. And that's a great mindset to have at every stage of your career. Don't be intimidated by the people that are more experienced, and don't let that make you feel less worthy of yourself. Learn from them, ask questions, build relationships, right? There's so much that they can also give back to you and value that you can bring to them if you just trust in yourself and let that happen more organically.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Tiffany. That was really good. Thank you. Thank you. I
You're
think that was really good
welcome.
advice. So I stopped you midway when you were going to give your
Yeah.
fourth point.
Sure. Well, it actually piggybacks nicely off of this discussion we just had. And it's the fourth mistake of not making your voice heard due to lack of confidence. And this, I can't tell you the amount of times I witness this. And I see it within my clients as well, which is something I'm concretely helping them to get past. But it's almost that you feel like what you say is going to be judged, ridiculed, discounted. So instead of actually speaking up, you just choose to remain silent. And that's just a huge watch out because, you know, it's essential to speak up, to make your voice heard. And again, reiterate the value that you're bringing and showing that you have a viewpoint, that you can think critically, that you're adding to the discussion. So, whether this is in meetings, whether this is in informal conversations, make sure that that viewpoint is coming through because this is essential so that you can progress in your career and make people realize actively that you have a voice and you're not just following the crowd or being very shy. And by the way, this comes up a lot, but I'm a big believer that you don't have to be super extroverted or off the walls to make your voice heard. I'm a huge believer of quality over quantity,
Mm-hmm.
right? So long as you're bringing substance, you're bringing impact, you're bringing value, you're bringing contributions, that's what matters when I say really making your voice heard versus not making it heard. So that's really the fourth mistake, and it's a pretty major one that I see a lot, especially amongst young professionals where they're just not making their voice heard or they don't even know really how to do it because, again, they're getting into their own head. The fifth one I would say is lacking the support system to help propel you forward.